Hey, Spirit Island fans, I am once again snowed in, so playing another game of Spirit Island because I cannot go outside without putting on way too many layers. Don't mess with the cold. So, we're going to be playing Finder into Brandenburg Prussia 6. And let's start the game as we talk through sort of how I'm thinking about this. I think one of the biggest challenges of Finder into Prussia is that you don't have that much time and you don't generate a ton of fear. So you do need to find some way to get your fear up to, at least terror level 2 or 3. And you generate no fear in the base kit, and you need to draw to anything that can. So that sort of guides you towards the idea of putting everything in one land and then nuking it with some sort of major. But then you just don't have that many turns to draw a major, right? Because you're only going to get, what is it, 8 turns, 7 turns? Um, so looking at this board, this is a little bit of a spicy start. Um, I think in general, we're probably just going to blight twice in the early turns. And ideally, we want those to happen on inland lands rather than on coasts. So let's add a presence here and then think about Circuitous Wending and Path's Tide, which is a fairly common Finder opening because it allows you to hit the first innate there. And so let's think about if we do, so we push an Explorer out, we could push a city into here. And then with Circuitous and Wending Journey, uh, we're pushing half out of this. Actually, we would Path's Tide then to push 2 things. I like this line. And we can use Path's Tide. One of the things that we push can be, yes, okay. I think this makes a lot of sense. We push the city out into here, and then we'll have 4 invaders. And then we can use Path's Tide and Circuitous and Wending to push them all basically out of here. The other option is if we put our presence here, we could then push this Explorer into here. I actually do think that's a little bit neater. So let's do, and it also builds out our presence into the inland. Finder scales very hard on the amount of presence that you have on the island. So obviously its tracks are very strong, right? You're going up to 2 energy, then 4 energy fairly quickly. You get extra card plays, like the tracks are very good and some of the effects on them are really nutty, but merely just having the presence on the island is so strong because it increases your network of where you can push things to, and so many of your abilities have a lower range, especially in the early turns. You're a little bit constrained by this. Okay, so we're going to lay paths to push an explorer here. Uh, okay, and we're now dropping stuff into the wetlands. We need to figure out where to put our town. So I think we are probably, I mean, we're definitely letting this blight. We're going to use Circuitous to push all of this stuff into here. And then we're going to use Path's Tide to push everything from here into here. Path's Tide, by the way, moves 2 invaders to a land that has the same terrain. And then Circuitous pushes half round up from target land. So we could, so we definitely don't want to add it into one of the wetlands. Adding it here has beast upside that it just randomly gets killed. Adding it here, we might be letting this blight. I'm going to add it here. I think that's good. Okay. So actually, we don't have a good use for Circuitous. So we could, okay, just thinking about this, we could add it to like here, that way we use Circuitous to push it into there. I don't really know if that's needed. Okay. Yeah, and I think we're going to go back and we're going to place, um, we're going to put the town here. And we can, I guess, pairing up the Dahan seems good. And Circuitous also allows you to push Presence, which is nice. Uh, so maybe we push it here. That way we can push out of it next turn. And then Path's Tide, we will push the town and the city. Okay. So this is solved, this is solved. This we could potentially solve with a lay paths, or we could just let it blight. Interesting. Okay. So we have two choices. Adding a presence and gaining a card play lets us, do two things, which means that we're going to be able to hit one of our, innates. So that could be used to push lay paths out of there. The other option is gaining a major power. And I kind of like gaining a major power. Um, I think that is appealing. Aid from Spirit Speakers, also a great card here because we can just push this right out. We do need to draw into a win condition, so I think we need to be playing more aggressively about majors. Okay. Voice of Command, really interesting because we are probably going to have a land that has a lot of Explorers and Dahan all in one place just naturally, and it's very on element for us. It will be easy for us to hit the threshold. Uh, it doesn't scale infinitely in the way that you would kind of want, but I do think it's the best of these. Trees speak of stones and war, just not enough damage. Finder has to pay responsibilities to the dead, which is a special rule where you have to lose an energy and destroy a presence in order to be able to do any damage. So if you're doing damage, you want to do a ton of damage rather than just like one per Dahan. This is at least one per Dahan and Explorer. Um, it's also closer to on element. I like this. Wounded Wild, same issue, not enough damage. And Twisting Flowers, it removes instead of destroys, and it adds a bunch of fear. So it's not like the worst card here, uh, but basically we have such a short timeline to be able to get through enough fear to win that simply doing like 7 fear if we thresholded it, and we currently can't threshold it, right? Because we only have 1, 2 plant if you include this. Um, so we're going to pick a Voice of Command, and we're going to toss, I think Path's Tide is the weakest card here. The choice for whether to keep Path's Tide or not, like you're forgetting one of these because forgetting from the discard is generally stronger. It allows you to not forget from your hands. You can delay reclaims. But Path's Tide has a ton of elements, which means it's great for the forgetting and forgetting for events that require you to forget to get elements. Circuitous is just like a better card. I'm more worried about that for this game. Okay. And now we have to place a presence. And we think we're using aid from spirit speakers, which means we do not particularly care where the presence goes. And we are not going to hit any of our innates yet. Traveler's Boon could just pop the Explorer into here. I actually like that better. I can do aid from spirit speakers next turn. So let's put our presence here, but then play Traveler's Boon, and we're going to use that to move this Explorer into here. And then next turn, aid from spirit speakers will let me push both of these out into there. And we can isolate one land. Okay, we're going to move to this land, move this presence, just that presence, and then we're going to move the Explorer with it. I think isolating this is probably the best move. In general, you want to isolate the dump land to guard against events that push stuff out of the land that has the most invaders. There's a few of those. It pockets this land because it won't have a source for invaders, but that can't come up because we've already seen the wetlands. No other isolate can pocket better. I mean, I guess if we do one of the coastal lands, we stop it no matter what comes up. That's kind of appealing, but let's isolate this. Okay. Uh, okay. Jungle, not the worst thing we could draw. And I'm going to put the town here. That might be a little bit of a controversial take because it does have blight and it's more likely to come up. Actually, okay, I've convinced myself against this. I'm going to add the town here, which prevents my ability to pocket a little bit more, but okay. So I think we're putting uh, Aid from Spirit Speakers has to go to a land with Dahan. Okay, this is interesting. So if we do Voice of Command into, hmm, well, this is a little bit early to do Voice of Command because you pay responsibilities when you do it. So I think this might be a turn where, okay, I'm thinking through this out loud, that Voice of Command plus Aid from Spirit Speakers will threshold Voice of Command, which gives you the gather 2 explorers, towns, or Dahan. So you could gather like, I don't know, a Dahan and a town into here, and then you would have 4 damage attacking both of the towns. It full clears the Ravage. Um, and you could even use Aid from Spirit Speakers to clean this out into here. If we're using Voice of Command to close out the game, we need to get Dahan into here, which I kind of think that Voice of Command might be a transition major, use it once and then forget it for a different major. And I think we might want to use it on this land in particular. So if we hit the level 2 of this innate, we can just push this town into our already existing dump land, which is kind of nice. And in order to do that, we just have to play 2 cards that have air and 1 that has sun. So Ways of Shore lets us basically clean out this land. And Offer Passage, okay, Offer Passage lets us push Dahan into here. Uh, I think I like this line. Okay. And I think we need to place the presence a little bit different in order to do that. And notice that we're just like stockpiling energy, right? We already have 4 left over. We're going to get another 4 next turn. That's one of the big advantages of Finder is that really nice top track combined with how cheap all of the minor powers that it has are. It really gets up a ton of energy naturally, which means it can start slinging majors fairly quickly. Okay, so we are going to lay paths to push this town into here. Offer passage, we use this to move, sorry, move up to 4 Dahan between target land and one of your lands. Move Dahan. Okay. And now, thinking through this, we're going to, in slow, Ways of Shore and Heartland, push these into here. And then this, we will use Voice of Command to suck a bunch of stuff in and kill it. And that will leave us with basically just this and this and this. And one of these 2 we can like pop out with a lay paths next turn. So we're starting to get all of our cities in one place, and then we just need to draw into the major that like fully clears the game. So in terms of where to isolate, we have stage 2 card, and we have sands, mountains, and coasts. So I think it makes a lot of sense to clean out uh, this, because that has a 2/3 chance of coming up. Okay, adding extra explorer, kind of annoying sometimes, but probably not the biggest deal for us. Sweet, we get to just full clear that. Add a Dahan to a land with Dahan. I think it makes the most sense to put it here since we might be voice of commanding there. Uh, great. Ravage, very clean. Building. And now we're going into the sands. Okay. So I guess we add a town here. So the plan was to Ways of Shore and Heartland here into there. Uh, and now we have sort of two options. I think we could push the stuff here into there. That stops a city from being built. The other option is to push these into here so that we don't have to think about this next turn. Um, okay. We're also, next turn, if we use Aid from Spirit Speakers, we can push this stuff into here. And then Voice of Command, which is thresholded, so it'll gather in both of those. And then Voice of Command onto here, which will just do a ton of damage. Okay, I like this. Okay. One of the downsides of this line is that we are going to reclaim on one card play because we weren't able to get down to +1 card play. Kind of brutal. You don't really love to do that. So we're at the classic finder choice of move a presence and gain an air, or +1 energy and +1 range on everything. These are both fairly powerful effects. I tend to favor moving a presence because moving a presence is functionally +1 range. But we might want to go the energy route, at least for this turn. Yeah, I think so. No, let's do move. Yeah, move a presence and gain an air. Okay. And we're going to be on, when we reclaim, we'll have 7 energy, but only 1 card play. And we have this thresholded, so we're going to gather this town and this explorer. And then lay pass lets us push something out of here. I think it makes the most sense to push the city. And Aid from Spirit Speakers is going to push a bunch of stuff into there. So let's do this first. We're going to move a town and an explorer. First, we have to open the ways to connect to these two, and then push the city into here. Okay. And now we're going to Voice of Command. We have to connect these two so that we have the range in order to use Voice of Command. And we're gathering in this explorer and this town. We now can do 8 damage. So I think we're going to kill 2 cities and a town. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That gets us a fear card. We do have to lose a presence. I think this is the least essential presence right now. Yeah. Add an explorer and a town. Great. We're just going to add that right into our dump land. Gain 1 energy and reclaim a card. That is huge. That lets us avoid reclaiming on 0 or on only 1 card per turn. So, which do we want? I think next turn we are grabbing a major power and then playing that plus one of these cards. And so our problem land is going to be this. We'll have everything in here and then some stuff here. And that means we're going to basically want I think if we do something with sun and air, we'll be in a good position. Unfortunately, offer passage only useful if there's Dahan already in the land. Maybe I think Circuitous is just like the better card in this, and that means that we just kind of want a sun major. There's lots of good sun majors. They tend not to do a lot of damage. Um, I mean, offer passage makes it easier to clean out. Okay, you know what? I like Circuitous because it also gives us the out of using a moon major. In each land with towns, destroy one explorer per town. So this is kind of actually bad for us because Voice of Command does damage per explorer, and so this is now like a useless card for us. So I think we're forgetting Voice of Command next turn for the major that we draw. Okay. This is now something that we kind of want to draw skip as well. So for major powers, we're looking for skips or anything that can do damage per everything in the land. Okay. Not. Oh, okay. Fragments of Yesteryear. Might just end the game. Am I right about that? Well, it gets a 0 fear, so we actually would then be stuck with the explorers. But we can use this here. Uh, we have the moon, or we don't have either of the thresholds. Okay. But it would remove all pieces and then match the setup. And the setup land is just a town. I think the fact that this has no fear makes it very spooky, because then we're in a position where we don't have many turns to close out the game. Um, Unfortunately, sea monsters, kind of useless. Walls of Rock and Thorn, kind of useless for this turn. I mean, I don't like this draw. The upside of Fragments is that uh, it lets us hit the full innate here. So then we can push up to half of invaders and then push one. So this won't actually blight or cascade. I mean, sea monsters just is not useful for us. Our beasts are poorly positioned. It won't work. Utter Recursive Dread and Bone. For each blight, inner adjacent, we'd be adding what, 2 Badlands and doing a damage. Yeah, this isn't going to work. Walls of Rock and Thorn. It won't defend well enough because that's got what? That's going to have 18 damage next turn, Ravaging. So we would do, even if we thresholded it, yeah, I mean, this is not useful. Ugh, I hate drawing fragments, but I think that is what we're doing. Okay, and then we are going to place a presence here. Yeah, I think that's right. Okay. And I don't think that we can use fragments here to remove all of this because we need to turn that into fear in order to win the game. So I think it might make the most sense to use it. Uh, and also, this has a town setup symbol. So I think we want to use it on a place that doesn't have setup symbols. And wherever we push this stuff, we want. Okay, I think this is right. We just need to figure out where to push. And I think it makes the most sense to push everything into here. Yeah. Okay. So we have 2 moon. We don't have any energy. We could forget Traveler's Boon or Offer Passage. If it's fast, add a blight to a land with towns or cities. That will cascade no matter what we do. Or we just get free fear and add a beast. Sure. I mean, that blight is really unappealing to me, so let's forget Traveler's Boon. And we're going to add our beast, I don't know. I guess into the dump land. That makes the most sense. Um, I guess here, because fragments will bring back that Dahan anyway. Gain an energy, nice. Okay. So, push the town into here, and then I think we push the presence there. And then we're left with this blighting and this blighting. That's not too bad. We can move a presence to like be able to affect this. Yeah, I just don't think there's any way we get the fear if we use fragments on this. Painful that that destroys your presence. Okay. We have a bad major, so we're picking a new one. Solidify with destroyed presence. That's great. But I do think we're going to go sweep into the sea. And I think, oh, actually, solidify lets us stop this ravage and this ravage. And we regain a unique power that we've forgotten, which is kind of nice on the margins. But again, it doesn't help us win. Sweep into the sea, on the other hand, uh, unfortunately, a card we cannot threshold. But if we could, we push everything from here into a coastal land and then immediately repeat it. And that gets us a ton of fear, but leaves two cities. Um, hmm. A downside of Swoop into the Sea is that this will blight, destroy all those Dahan. That just feels shitty. Um, I guess, okay. We can use Offer Passage. The next time Dahan would be destroyed in target land, destroy fewer Dahan. That allows them to counterattack and kill uh, the cities, but it is only two, so it would only kill one city. We don't have any cities being built. I do kind of think that Sweep into the Sea is a good win condition for us, though, so let's pick that up. Solidify is one of the best cards in the game, but I think we have so little fear and so little time to end this game that we can't play stall. Um, and let's see. Ways of Shore, or Circuitous and Offer Passage gets us the full innate, so we could like push everything out of there. We have infinite range this turn as well. And we're getting 2 blight out of this, 0 blight here. And then Circuitous in the slow phase will clean up one of these 4 lands. And then next turn, we can jam all 3 of these cards to Sweep in the Sea and just clean everything here. This is not the worst line. I have to move presence before. And I guess we'll move from... We don't have anything that requires a sacred site, so moving from here to here makes sense. And we're able to do that because we have infinite range. That's one of the nice benefits of the move one presence option. On your reclaim, you have infinite range, so move one presence any amount of distance. We have to connect these lands first. And I actually think that it makes sense to push the presence as well. And then I guess destroy 2 fewer. Okay, just out of town. Cool. Add 1 beast to the sands, gets us fear. Defend 1 plus 1 per adjacent to Han. That unfortunately will not solve this land. Okay. each spirit adds a uh, presence. So we're going to add a presence, add a Dahan to a land with Dahan. So we can actually add that here, which is kind of nice. And then add 2 cities to the lands with the fewest towns or cities, minimum 1. Unfortunate. Adding the presence is quite nice, though. Add the Dahan into here, because the damage has already been done, so the counterattack will go naturally. Yeah. It added the cities to here, which I don't think makes sense. Oh, it does. Okay. 2 cities to the land with the fewest cities, minimum 1. And there is so much in this that I now have to click manually to make sure those cities die. That gets us a fear card. Okay. Circuitous and Wending Journey pushes half. I think it makes the, so we have 4 different places that are annoying to deal with. This one has Blight on it already, so I think it makes the most sense. Aid from Spirit Speakers can push out of this, so that would leave only these 2 as problems. So let's connect this and this, push half, and then we can push our presence here, just because that's a land that's about to be active. And then the beast, I don't know. So it can stay here. I don't really have any issue with it there. Okay. And so this is our second to last fast phase. So I think we do want to pick up a major because we're probably never using these cards again. Certainly the slow one, we're probably never using again. And I think we are just running these 4, which hits the threshold. But let's see what we draw. Okay, Grant Hatred, not enough damage. Unleash a Torrent of the Self's own essence. We don't really have enough energy to do this effectively. Well, let me think about this. So this line of plays costs us 7 energy. We're going to have 8. So Unleash a Torrent costs 9. We could go to the +1 energy and any. Oh, but we can't play 4 cards anyway. I like picking up Unleash a Torrent because it will let us kill a city somewhere that we haven't yet killed. And then Circuitous, we don't have time to play anymore. And none of these require sacred sites. I think push a town or city from one of your lands makes the most sense to me. Okay. And we're going to push it out of here, which stops this from blighting. So now we're only going to take 1 blight here. And we can actually... Oh, annoyingly, we don't hit the lay paths threshold. Is there a different card we could play that would enable us to? Well, we don't have any moon. So this will be clear because Aid from Spirit Speakers lets us push 1 invader per Dahan, so we push the town and the explorer into there. And this is going to have 12 towns. So that's going to give us quite a bit of fear. 3 fear cards gets us up to terror level 2. Still feeling a little spooky. Okay. Being able to hit the top of this, right now we can only push 1 town out, which means that this will blight, and it also means that it will build next turn. However, if we're able to lay paths with both of these, we could then push half round down, which is 1, and then another 1. I guess it doesn't really change much. It just saves the blight, but it would still build. Okay. Let's do this turn. And then lay paths, if we're only moving one, I think does still make sense to push the town into here. And let's isolate this. Destroy a presence and lose an energy. Oh, interesting. So we can put offer passage. So it's any non-major power card, put it into play, use it immediately, and then forget it. Okay. This is an interesting choice. We do have to discard all power cards from hand, but I think that's fine because I probably want to reclaim next turn anyway. Because next turn, we just have the fast phase. We're going to be using Unleash a Torrent plus like whatever major power we draw. Okay. So the stuff we can put into play is Offer Passage, which that's going to allow us to move Dahan, kind of useless, or the next time Dahan would be destroy 2 fewer. We don't have any Dahan that are going to be destroyed. So the other option would be to do some of this quickly. I like, oh, we can't put Ways of Shore and Heartland into play because then we lose the sweep into the sea threshold. So, oh, okay, here's a play. Offer Passage to move Dahan to this land. I like that. So seek to control it, Offer Passage. This land, move Dahan to here. One Dahan will die, but the other will counterattack and kill. No disease on each board with 5 or more blight, remove a blight. Okay. I guess we get a little bit more comfort. If we lose, we're not going to lose. Or we're not going to lose to blighting out, though. Okay. The effect of that isolate, by the way, really strong. We stopped 3 full explorers. Okay. I think we're actually in a weirdly strong position. So Ways of Shore and Heartland, or first we have to connect the lands, here and here. Oh, actually, no, we're good. So we can use Sweep into the Sea to push from here to here and then destroy. And so then we should also put some of the explorers into the same land. And then that's just going to leave us with 3 cities, which hopefully Unleash a Torrent is able to let us kill. So we're going to get 4 energy, -2 to play Unleash a Torrent, +8, that's 10. I think we're good. Maybe. Let's see. Either way. And then repeating it here. I don't need anything to be adjacent, right? So we're just destroying everything. And that gets us 4 fear cards. Losing a presence. I don't really need this anymore. And so we need to destroy all the cities to win, or to generate 6. Well, no, we need to destroy all the cities to win. And so we're going to be able to use Unleash. And I think if we draw a card with fire, we'll be good, right? Because we do need to hit the threshold. a zero cost with fire probably lets us win. Otherwise, we need to use the fear cards to win. Gift of Nature's Connection will do it. Okay. And so we use this to give ourselves a fire. Oh no. We can only gain 8 energy, and this uh, so that'll kill 2 cities, but not the third. Huh. Was there anything in that draft that would help in a different way? Spur on gives you the fire, but now like it costs money that we can't afford. Okay. So spur on, if we use that instead, we'd be playing Unleash and Spur, and then we would still need a fire, so we'd have to play Aid, and we couldn't do that. Ugh, this is gross. Isolate at least, push up to 1 invader. Not super useful. Oh, sorry, you know what we're going to do with this? We're going to move a beast into here, because that increases the odds that we get some form of damage that kills this. So target self, uh, both gain and pay, and we're going to forget sweep into the sea, do 8 damage, and we just need 1 damage to this. Oh, which actually, huh, could we get that in the Ravage? Yeah. Oh, I think there's a better way to do this. Okay. So, uh, we're going to push this into here, and then we're going to push these Dahan into there, and then we get 8 damage. And the nice thing here is that these Dahan will now counterattack, so at the very worst we get a sacrifice victory, but we also do have 5 fear cards in order to be able to find an out. And with the event, add blight to a coastal land. Spirits may prevent this by destroying presence. Ooh, we can't actually do that. We don't have the presence to destroy. Oh, and we get to Dahan defense. We just won. We're so good. Push. Great, destroy that. Dahan defense. Fear cards. Great. We won several different ways. This was a very fun game. I feel like there were some cards that I don't normally rate highly that did a lot of value. Sweep into the Sea, a strong card on Finder. It's kind of on Element. It's easy for you to hit the some part of it at least. And being able to make something that's not adjacent to the coast, suddenly adjacent to the coast, very fun. The one that resets the board, I think is a card that I almost never use, but I was glad that it found some use. This is very cool. Finder games, always a little bit weird, always very fun. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you tomorrow for my next Blizzard posting.